Hi everyone, happy Monday. Today we're talking about new fragrance releases and evaluating whether or not we want to purchase them and why, or at least whether or not I want to purchase them. It's up to you to decide what you want to do, of course. If this is your first time on this channel, hello, my name is Anya. I love fragrances and I talk about them here every single weekday, Monday through Friday, along with additional content on TikTok and Instagram under the username ANECHKAFRAGRANCES. I also have a podcast called The Fragrance Report that's up on Spotify, and I have a new episode launch every single Wednesday, along with clips or snippets of that episode launching on Friday for those of you who are not on Spotify. So let's get started with today's video. Keep in mind, I actually don't know if I've mentioned this that often to you guys, but I am in the process of packing up my place and moving. So I have boxes behind me, and if you're wondering why there are boxes behind me, that's why. I'm literally trying to do so much pre-filming for you guys because yeah, it's about to be crazy, but that's why if you see boxes in my background, you might not see them because my head's in the way, but yeah, boxes. If you see boxes, I'm moving, that's why they're there. So there you go. First up is a new fragrance by Rasasi. This is Hawas Fire. It's in this like bright red bottle, so of course this really captured my attention right off the bat. So Rasasi is known for their Hawas fragrance, for their masculine Hawas fragrance that is like the blue, like the light blue colorway. This one is red, obviously, and according to people online, it's supposed to be kind of a blend of Versace Eros and Sauvage, both iconic men's fragrances. Of course, I'm interested in smelling this one, but I can't really say I'll be buying the full-size bottle of this. I'll likely just try a decant because this is marketed towards a more masculine profile, and to be quite honest with you, I'm not like a super fan of Sauvage or Eros, so these are not fragrances that I'm drawn to anyway, so I feel like this will be a pass for me. But if you're a guy and you find that kind of scent profile appealing, or you want something maybe with those fragrance notes but maybe with a bit of a twist, this might be a good one to keep an eye out for. I will be talking about this fragrance more as we find out about the notes and things like that. Another fragrance to take note of is Ralph Lauren's Romance Elixir. This is a new launch, and we have notes of bergamot, green mandarin, pink pepper, and lychee at the top, a heart of rose absolute, violet accord, raspberry accord, and elemi, which I believe is like a resin, and then a base of patchouli, benzoin, and vanilla accord. I've mentioned this in a few fragrance news videos in the last few weeks, but I think it's really interesting because we're starting to see a lot of fragrance notes that have typically been only really reserved for niche fragrances in designer fragrances. And I think that just speaks to how we have managed to, I would say, kind of democratize scent with the help of social media. Now it's a lot easier for everyday consumers to be exposed to fragrance notes and scent profiles that they may previously have not even known about. So now we're seeing, notes like lychee in perfumes that are in the designer space. So I can't necessarily say that I'm like super, invested in Ralph Lauren's Romance line. I've heard about it, I've smelled it. It hasn't necessarily been a top seller, at least when I was working in retail, but it was one of those fragrances that was like typically, like easy to sell, easy to communicate to a customer. So I would be interested in smelling this because it looks like they're leaning more into like the fruity aspect, and previously this would have been more of like a floral leaning fragrance. So I'm interested in perhaps trying this out, so I will check this out in store. Another launch to take note of is Toskovat. They're re-releasing a previously limited edition version of In the Belly of the Beast. This was a special edition fragrance that sold out, and now they're bringing it back, but they're eliminating some of the aged ingredients that were reserved for the special edition one. Now this will be more mass market material, so to speak, but this will be a fragrance with top notes of sweet notes, seawater, mulberry, leather, and saffron, a heart of hashish. I don't know what that is. Copal resin, elemi resin, costus root, Hercules club, lanolin, and immortelle, and then a base of shipwreck, ambergris, natural oud, palo santo, sequoia driftwood, moss, and lichen, as well as flowers from the Mariana Trench. So obviously it looks like they have a lot of fantasy accords going with this fragrance, and I actually I think earlier this year at Essence, I managed to meet with the founders of Toskovat and kind of like smell through some of their fragrances. And it's pretty clear that they're trying to release fragrances that are more of like a fine art rather than mass appealing. So they're not trying to release, everyday fragrances. They have a concept, they go for the concept, and it's kind of like an art piece. That's what they're trying to go for. You know how when it comes to food, you have like your chicken nuggets, that's like the equivalent to like vanilla. Like everyone loves vanilla, everyone likes chicken nuggets. But for example, if you go out to a fine dining restaurant and you have for example, tartare. Not everyone's going to like tartare, but the people that like tartare are going to appreciate it. So Toskovat's kind of like the tartare of the fragrance world. So they have some interesting fragrance combinations that I would definitely suggest testing. Obviously, don't blind buy a Toskovat fragrance, but they have a discovery set, so I would recommend getting your hands on that one. So yeah, this might be an interesting launch as well. Next up, we have a new release by the brand D'Orsay. This is Tonka Hysteria, and the mastermind or the perfumer behind this fragrance is Jordi Fernandez, and this perfume is supposed to define Jodi as a nonconformist. So this is supposed to be a non-conforming fragrance. Theoretically, that's why it's called Tonka Hysteria. More on that in a bit, but this has notes of mandarin, cinnamon, and pink pepper at the top, a heart of orris and lily of the valley, and then a base of tonka bean, benzoin, and vanilla. So again, I can't necessarily speak too much about the fragrance brand and the fragrance in general. I make these videos mostly to inform you. Obviously, if I've tried a fragrance, I will share my opinion of it, but I also like to make these videos to comment on the marketing and the whole scope of the fragrance release, not just the fragrance. I like to also talk about the marketing, the naming, how it's perceived, the things like that. I think that's also really important and intriguing to talk about. So that's what I'm going to comment on when it comes to this particular release, especially. So I personally don't love it when you have fragrance brands come out with, fragrances with names like Hysteria, because I think that's demeaning to women. And you might think, oh yeah, she's being too fussy about that. I mean, yeah, okay, fine. I can be fussy, but personally, if I'm having to make a purchasing decision, I don't necessarily know if I want to spend my money on a fragrance that's called Hysteria. Because if we look at women's history, women have been seen as hysterics, or like women have been branded as crazy, for lack of a better term, throughout history, and that's been used as a way to demean women. And I'm sorry, but if you have a fragrance that's meant for women, I don't like having that word on there, especially with what's going on in the world. I mean, I don't like to be political on here. I stay far away from that. But I will say this as someone who identifies as a woman, I do not want a fragrance that has the name Hysteria. I don't care who makes it. It's not something I want to spend my money on, personally. I like the fragrance notes objectively, like they seem interesting, but would I spend my money on this? No. And if you're trying to be a nonconformist, maybe choose another naming system that's not Hysteria, or I don't know, maybe say that you're going to donate the proceeds to, a women's shelter or like a women's charity. Like just do something as a brand that will make it look as if you're trying to do more than just capitalize off of a buzzword that's been used to demean women for centuries. That's just my opinion. That's just what I think. Next up, we have a new flanker of My Way. This is My Way Ylang, and this perfume will have notes of bergamot, orange flower, mango, and coconut at the top, a heart of tuberose and ylang ylang, and then a base of vanilla, white musks, and cedarwood. This is a fragrance that I'm looking forward to testing out in store. I have become so picky with designer fragrances, and the reason behind it is because designer fragrances at this point, the price is comparable with affordable niche, or that's what I like to call niche fragrances that are around the $100 to $150 mark. The prices between affordable niche and designer fragrances at this point are comparable, and designer fragrances are way more accessible and easier to try than niche fragrances. So to be quite honest, if I want to go and try a designer fragrance, all I have to do is walk into a store and try it out. And if I like it, then I can get it. If I don't like it, I can walk out. That's my philosophy. As someone who is, trying to function as we all are, in this economy where we have like so many different new releases coming out all the time, I'm not going to go out of my way and buy every single designer fragrance when I can easily just try it in store and see if I like it. That's just my opinion. So yeah. Anyway, the My Way fragrances, I like them. I'm not like I don't have them in my collection because I don't think they're all that unique or different. But, and I say this as someone who used to sell fragrances, I used to work in fragrance retail, I used to sell designer fragrances all the time. My Way fragrances are some really beautiful white floral fragrances if you're just looking for a basic white floral. To be quite honest with you, after a certain point, white floral fragrances or like the designer white floral perfume, that kind of scent profile gets a little bit too redundant. So I don't need to have every single white floral fruity fragrance on the market. And My Way is one of those like white floral fragrance profiles that they're not necessarily bringing anything new to the table, but they're mass appealing and a lot of people really like them. So that's my take on this. I think it's going to be a good release. I'm looking forward to trying it out, but I'm not going to go out of my way to actually buy it. Next up is a new release by the maker. This is going to be called Dream. I probably should have talked about this in last week's video, but this was one of the fragrances that I actually missed. But this is going to be a warm, spicy cacao fragrance with notes of cocoa, cinnamon, butter, and magnolia at the top, amid of vanilla white orchid, sandalwood, and caramel, and then a base of vanilla, amber, and vetiver. I tried a sample of this. I actually really did like it. If you're into kind of like gourmands, with like a little bit of a lactonic twist, this is really good. I enjoyed it. The maker in general, they have some really beautiful fragrances. I wish that their pricing wasn't nearly as high because if you kind of look at the fragrance bottles themselves, like the top is kind of plasticky, and I know this is me being super nitpicky, and this might put me off of like any future makeup PR list if I'm being honest, but the cap of the maker fragrances is actually plastic, and to be quite honest with you, that's always deterred me from buying a bottle of the maker because I'm like, if I'm going to pay close to $200 for a fragrance, I don't really want to see any visibly plastic components in the perfume. So that's like the only caveat I have with the maker. I really like their scent profiles. I might get a travel spray of this. I have a travel spray of Paradiso, which I love and treasure. But yeah, I'm not going to get the full size of this. Probably not. I might get the travel spray. We'll see. I really like this a lot. I thought this was like a good, like, lactonic, creamy gourmand. I didn't think it was like anything too unique, but I did enjoy it. Next up is another new gourmand release by Theodoros Kalotinis. This is called Almond Tart. This is going to be one of their exclusive fragrances, meaning it's going to be available at Lucky Scent, this one. And this perfume will have notes of cacao, vanilla, almond, butter, and sugar. It sounds absolutely delightful. It sounds delicious. Theodoros Kalotinis in general, if you're interested in affordable gourmands, they do quite a few delicious ones. I really like their fragrances. I'm looking forward to potentially trying a sample or decant of this one. I don't know, like, okay, let me know what you mean, like, let me know what you think about this, but I personally, like, I have been kind of leaning towards like maybe slowing down on buying new fragrances, especially like in the next few months or so, because I'm more interested in getting decants, even if it comes to like more affordable perfumes. And I've been doing that for like Middle Eastern perfumes for a really long time. Not a long time, but I've been doing that for like the last few months. But like even with fragrances like this one, I mean like this is like $55. It's pretty affordable, not gonna lie. So this could be like a no-brainer, especially if you want like a gourmand. But like I don't know, I have so many fragrances right now, so I'll most likely just be getting like myself a decant or something of this. I want to try it out, but they also have had three other releases that I'm like catching up to. So like I don't know. I'm trying to be a little bit more mindful when it comes to buying new fragrances. Next up is this new perfume by Paco Rabanne. This is called Femme Couture. This, right off the bat, is one of the more ostentatious bottle designs we've seen in this video so far. This is very out there, and I'm looking at the scent pyramid and I'm looking at the scent pyramid, and personally, this is a fragrance that I would really like to try specifically just by the scent pyramid. So this might be another travel size fragrance, honestly. So Paco Rabanne's Femme Couture, and this has a top note of creamy incense, a heart of iris, and then a base of vanilla balm. That literally sounds like it was made for me. Do I want a furry bottle in my collection? No. Am I trying to be more mindful when it comes to getting new fragrances? Yes. So this could be something I get like as a travel spray. I wouldn't be mad at that. This could be that. I'll be looking forward to getting this in travel spray. All right, so those are all the fragrances I wanted to talk about today. I don't know about you, but like I don't know if it comes across in this video or not, but I've just been like in a little bit of a funk. I mean, I'm looking at some of these fragrances. I really like what I'm seeing with some of these releases, but I can't necessarily say I'm like super excited to get any of them. And I think it's because I'm kind of like in like maybe I've just like oversaturated myself with new fragrances, with going to oh my gosh, with going to Scent Explore, trying so many new fragrances out. Like I have a lot of really interesting ones that I've tried and some that I'm excited about, but like I can't necessarily say that I'm super looking forward to getting any new fragrances anytime soon. I mean, obviously, I will continue to get some new fragrances, but I don't know. Like, do I need to do like a no buy or a low buy or what? But like, maybe like it's a holiday season, and maybe it's like the fact that it's a holiday season. We're getting hit with so much like consumerism stuff, new releases. I don't know. I kind of feel like a little bit overstimulated by all that. So I feel like the need to recede and just be a spectator for now when it comes to new launches. But yeah, let me know. Have you been feeling like that? Do you completely not relate to what I'm saying? I do like to keep it real with you. At the end of the day, yes, I create content about fragrances, but I do consider myself a consumer. Um, I'm not going to want to get every single new thing, and sometimes I feel like I just have those weeks where I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, it seems nice, but like, do I need any of this? Not really. But yeah, let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching till the end, and I'll see you next time. Bye.